Welcome to the Doc G Show, a radio show cluster. Without further ado, critics have said he has the face for radio and a voice for silent films. Your host, Ben Doc G Gordon.
And we are on the air. Welcome to the Doc G Show. I'm your host, Doc G. With me, as always, the one, the only, Mikey Maximus, the Furticus.
Say what?
Charette.
Dr. G, what is up, sir?
Oh, my gosh. My gosh, Mike, a lot.
Yeah?
I'm busy,
Oh, yeah.
you know? I'm busy.
Oh, gosh.
But give it to me straight. How you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm definitely an 8.5 out of 10, you know, the usual.
Good.
Feel pretty good today.
Good.
Yeah,
Now,
feel healthy, feel clean.
Now, you're going to be, think about this.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be Papa Mike in like a month.
Yes. A father.
What? My God, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
You are going to be a dad, Mike.
Yeah, it is. It's wild.
Wow. How long do you think it'll be before your kid is a guest on our show?
Pretty soon, man. I mean,
Couple months?
Doc G might be here the whole time.
I like it.
Just as soon as the baby is born, it might just be sitting right here. Silent.
We will need a cough button for your baby. We will need just a little cough button, you know?
Yeah, I might have to do something there, yeah.
But, you know, I mean, like, Mike, you think about this. You're going to be a teacher.
That's right.
You're going to be responsible for the entire education of a person for like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty wild.
It is, man. It is.
But, you know, if you keep your eyes open, Mike, life's a pretty good teacher. You know? It can teach you a thing or two. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Mike, I was retaught a lesson the other day.
What was that?
Well, I'm sure you've heard of the saying, never judge a book by its cover.
Oh, yeah. Love that saying.
Yeah. Which, fun fact, Mike, I wrote a book. It's called my dissertation for my PhD.
Right.
The cover was blank and was a boring color. And I got to say, that's about as exciting as the rest of the book. So you could judge that just like the rest of the book. Yes. But for most books, we don't want to do that, Mike. We don't want to judge a book by its cover.
Nope.
And I was reminded of this. I went to Florida's favorite neighborhood grocery store, Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. And I was having a pleasurable time, Mike. One of the things I love about Publix is the tunes. I don't know if you know.
Oh, yeah. A good house DJ, whoever that is.
Just the easy-going jams, listeners. If you are one of our regular listeners from the international lands and you're like, what is this Publix? It's just a lovely grocery store where everybody greets you and says, hey, how's it going? And you're like, good, thanks for asking, right? And then while you're walking around, they're jamming out Hall & Oates or Journey or what else? Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey. And you're just like, oh, I haven't heard this jam in a while. Yeah, good stuff, right? It's good. Anyways.
Yeah, it is.
I was having a pleasurable experience, Mike.
Sweet.
And while I was having that experience, I saw a pretty lady. She caught my eye, you know? And I wasn't trying to be a creeper, you know? I just noticed a quite attractive lady out of the corner of my eye. She's very well put together, you know?
Mm-hmm.
She's in a little...
As most Publix ladies who shop there are.
Exactly.
You know?
Lovely clientele.
Oh, yes.
She had a business pantsuit deal on, you know?
Okay.
And it was well fitted, so it hugged the waistline, you know? She had nice flowing hair. It's like a little bounce with the little curls at the end, you know? I said, my goodness, this little lady is a showstopper, you know? Mainly because I talk like a 90-year-old from the 20s. But I said that, Mike. I said that. And I didn't want to be arrested, so I stopped looking after a while. And I just went along my way. And then I got my other essentials, you know, the paper towels, soap, chicken, crack. Whatever you get at Publix, you know?
Yeah.
And then I did a little self-checkout because I don't need to talk to anybody. I like self-checkout.
By the way, listeners, I'm sorry, Doc G, but the crack he's talking about is a public sub. That's what he got. That's
bingo.
The crack.
Well, that is for most people. I will say, Mike, and this is, I'm not like trying to be some kind of health nut or something. I never get public subs.
Nope.
Oh, you don't?
I love them. I mean, don't get me wrong; they are delicious. But I somehow I can avoid them, Mike. I can be like,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
I'm not going to get that chicken tender sub right now.
All right.
Which is impressive because, like you said, they're delicious.
Oh, yeah.
But nonetheless, Mike, I did my checkout. I was outside. I was headed out of the store. I was putting my bags in the car, and I was putting my cart away like a respectable human being. Not one of those degenerates who throw it up on the curb. Or
Thank you for your service, losers.
The even lazier people that just put the front two wheels on the curve and then...
oh, gosh. Don't go.
Right?
I'm going to...
Right? You're gonna
so annoying.
Gonna break somebody's face right now. Mike can't handle it.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate it.
But anyways, I was putting away the cart, and again, something out of the corner of my eye caught my attention. I turned... and in a Volkswagen Jetta was the girl I'd seen in Publix. So there's the pretty little number. And the pretty little number is absolutely dominating some pieces of Publix fried chicken. She had a drumstick, Mike, in her hand, and seeing her eating this resembled a pack of hyenas tearing into a gazelle. She just, just like, I mean, like literally, like the windows were rolled up, but I could imagine there were like giddy laughs and growls that went with it, and just, just like ripped it off. Like she was violent, Mike, violent. Like would this remind? There were two things that came to mind. Like, if you think of the movies, one of those sex scenes in a movie where there's like some violence in that sex scene and it makes everyone in the theater uncomfortable except for the real pervs, like that's what it was in her car, except instead of another person, it was chicken. That's what was doing it. You know? It was a lot. And the other thing that it reminded me of, Mike, you know the scene in Jurassic Park? where Dennis Nedry, Newman's character, he gets eaten by the little dinosaur. It just shows up in the Jeep, and then they just show the Jeep from far away, and the Jeep's just bouncing back and forth because it's eating him. That's what the girl was doing in there.
Blood splatters on the window.
Yeah.
There was oil all over her window.
Just grease just shot out. Just oh my God.
Ew.
Bottom line, Mike, don't judge a book by its cover.
So true.
No.
If you would have pointed this lady out to me in Publix and been like, hey, in a couple of minutes, she's going to be demolishing a couple of pieces of fried chicken like she hasn't seen food in a week and she may never see it again, I'd be like, nah, no way. No way.
Fork and knife for her.
Exactly. But no, Mike, don't judge a book by its
Savage.
cover, you know? Yeah, and bottom line, Mike, I asked that little lady out. You know?
All right.
No,
there you go.
I didn't do that. It's a complete lie. I did not do that. Mike, the listeners may be like, yeah, I stumbled upon this radio show / podcast, the Doc G Show. This looks pretty cool. Well, don't judge a book by its cover. It's not, listeners. It is not cool.
They should have a book where it's called Judge This Book by Its Cover.
Yes.
And
all things to judge in there.
Like.
Just all things to judge. Mike, are you ready to fire up this show with a great cover and
let's fire. Yes.
Book insides? I didn't know what the things.
Let's
the pages.
Fire up this cover. This great cover of a show.
Just book. Let's just go book.
This book. Let's fire up this book.
All 3 engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and lift off.
Mike, we have a fantastic show we have today. Can you believe it? It's the best of the Doc G Show. It's
nice.
The holiday clip show already, my friend. My goodness, the year in review. We're here, man.
Flew by.
It's crazy.
This year.
It's crazy.
It flew by.
It did. But this is a little something my band director told me back in high school, Mike. And it's true. All you got to do is look at it. Every year alive, it's faster and faster.
Yeah.
It's less and less of your life. 1 year.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah,
Got to take advantage. We got to get it, you know? But we got to start where we start.
Birthday suits.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Mike, I'm a little concerned.
Yeah.
You could go over on these birthday suits.
Yeah.
Might happen. These are a little bit, they're not in your wheelhouse.
Won't be my first, won't be my last.
That's true. I'll agree with you on that. Born on December 11th, 1958 in San Jose, California, our birthday suit wearer grew up living with his grandparents, loving rock from the 60s and 70s. At 17, he moved to Los Angeles, started forming bands on the Sunset Strip. In 1981, he formed a band with Tommy Lee, Mick Mars, and Vince Neil called Motley Crue. Motley Crue sold over 100 million albums worldwide with 7 platinum records and 9 top 10 albums. They're one of the most well-known 80s bands with singles like Girls, 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 Shout at the Devil, Wild Side, Dr. Feelgood, Home Sweet Home. Our birthday suit wearer wrote many of those songs and was the bassist for the band. He also had a radio show. This should help you. It's part of his name. The name of the show was Sixth Sense. Name that birthday suit wearer.
No idea, Doc G.
I didn't think so. Not your wheelhouse, Mike. Nikki Sixx. Nikki Sixx. Yes. Very famous rocker. He's looked pretty much the exact same since like 1998. I give it up to him, you know. Pretty sure his hair is completely all dyed black now. There's no way his hair is that black at the age of, what is he, 60, 66? Yeah, no way. No way his hair is that jet black at 66. That is a dye job I have seen from a mile away. But
what a great age for his name, by the way.
66, pick up sticks. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes, very good for Nikki. Mike, if you haven't, I have not, I need to. I haven't watched the Netflix documentary, The Dirt, about Motley Crue. But I would definitely recommend either listening to the audio version of their biography, The Dirt, or reading it. It is one of the most insane books you will ever read as far as like rock and roll debauchery.
I love that.
There are so many insane stories in that book. I mean, I could go on, like, I remember at least 10 of them right now that I would have to beep out 90% of what I said if I said just them.
Orgies.
It's just crazy stuff, Mike. Crazy. And then they go on tour with Ozzy, and of course, he out-crazies them, you know, because he's Ozzy. Yes! So it's an amazing book. I definitely recommend it. After that book, you're like, wow. Everything crazy in my life is pretty much the most sane, normal things ever. That's nothing compared to these guys. They are crazy, and it's an entertaining book. The really fun part about it is they basically reminisce about all the same stuff, but they all wrote different chapters.
Oh,
so they like co-wrote it with the same author. And he would write with all the different band members, but he wouldn't tell any of the other people what they were writing. So they all had their own thoughts about it. And so each chapter would sort of overlay the same time period. And I'll just give you one example, which was great. There's one chapter where it starts with Mick Mars doing his, it starts with Vince Neil with doing his chapter, the lead singer. And at the end of the chapter, he's like, yeah, and I felt bad at this time because Mick had this new girlfriend, And I was having sex with his girlfriend, so that was wrong of me. I felt bad about that. And then the next chapter, they're talking to Tommy, and he goes through his whole chapter of that time period, and he's like, and I felt bad because I was having sex with Mick's girlfriend at that time.
What?
So then it goes to Nikki's chapter, and he's like, yeah, me and Mick, we were good, but I was having sex with his girlfriend at the time. And then the last one is Mick's, and he ends his with, everything was good during this time, but I'm pretty sure everybody in the band was having sex with my girlfriend. Oh, good stuff, man.
Good times. Ugh.
Not for Mick.
Not for Mick so
and
much.
And not for STDs. But you know what? He made it out, and he's 66, Mike. So happy birthday to Nikki 6. 66 for Nikki 6. Boom.
Yeah. Great.
Mike, are you ready to rip some headlines?
Let's rip some headlines, Doc G.
It's now time for Rip from the Headlines.
Mike, I think we need to start on a popular segment within Rip from the Headlines. It's known as the Weekly Jordan.
Oh, the Weekly Jordan.
It's been a little bit. So, I don't know if you saw this, Mike, but Trevor Ariza was on a podcast a couple of months ago saying Penny Hardaway was better than Michael Jordan for a few seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Penny just talked about those comments on another podcast, saying my skill set was higher than MJ's, so that was probably why he's like, man, he's better than MJ from a skill set point of view.
Word.
First off, Mike, no. Just no. Was Penny a better point guard? Sure. Better overall skills to win a basketball game? No. Get the out of here. That's not happening. Come on. Second,
no.
Why would you want to even say that, Penny? I don't get it. So you're saying you had more skill than the best player to ever play basketball, and you won nothing.
Yeah.
That's not a good combination, Penny. That's not what you want. You had all the talent in the world, and then you did nothing with it. Who wants that? That's not good, man.
No.
You should be like, I had zero skill compared to MJ, and somehow I still made it to the conference finals. That's what you want. What are you going around telling you had more skill than the guy that had 6 championships and you came out with 0?
Yeah, no way.
Nobody wants to do that.
Swept.
You
got swept, Doc.
The only thing you could say, Mike, and what you should have said was, I had more skill than MJ, but I got injured 55 times, so I never got to realize it. You got to follow it up with that precursor.
Yeah.
You know, that's a very important thing about your career. Very.
For sure.
Speaking of basketball, Mike, quarterfinals of the NBA Cup are happening tonight. Hawks and the Knicks. Woo! Mike, you know the Hawks logo?
Yeah.
It's the little outline of the Hawk.
Right.
Mike, I'm a little ashamed to admit this, but for the first 15 years of my life, I thought the Atlanta Hawks logo was a deformed Pac-Man.
I could see that.
If you look at that,
I could see that.
I was all right, I guess the Hawks, and then they've got an alternate logo of a jagged jaw Pac-Man. I don't know. And then all of a sudden I was it clicked, and I was like, oh, it's a hawk. I see. Oh, it's a little mind game.
What do they call that? A Rorschach arch? Rogue arch?
Oh, the Rorschach test.
Rorschach
test. Yes. The ones where they just throw out the blobs. Yes.
Yeah, you can kind of see a couple different images there.
But I swear, Mike, it's one of those. It is. It's a multiple image one where you can see the wine glass and the old lady or the young lady.
Yeah.
And I just saw a deformed Pac-Man. I was like, I don't know why they have that as a logo. That is weird. That is weird. Mike, I've got a little headline from the outstanding folks, People Magazine.
Woohoo!
Quote, 6 startling takeaways from new Girls Gone Wild expose. Accounts of underage exploitation, coercion, and more. I cannot believe it, Mike. Girls Gone Wild? Come on. All of those things weren't readily apparent on the commercials that came on at 1 a.m. on Comedy Central. Jesus. Listeners, I apologize to anyone that's under the age of 30 who's probably like, I have no idea what they're talking about. Girls Gone Wild was a DVD of softcore pornography. This was back in a time that people would use their phones to call a company and order a physical DVD of pornography. A simpler time, some people would say.
Yes.
You know? But anyways, apparently, Mike, it wasn't all on the up and up. Yeah.
Yeah, hard to believe.
Hard to believe.
It's hard to believe.
Hard to believe. Mike, I got a little update here. I'm sure I'd say you saw this one. Let's see if you saw this one. New York Magazine talked to Pete Davidson about his time at SNL for their little SNL at 50. And Pete Davidson, they asked him what his biggest indulgence was after his first paycheck at Saturday Night Live. And his response was, quote, it's like $3,000 an episode. I think I got dinner.
Yeah.
What kind of dinner is he eating, Mike? $3,000? Come on, bro. I know what you're saying. But let's be real. Blow that first night you get it. Come on. $3,000. Plus, there's like 24 episodes a season, Mike.
Yeah.
Making over $70,000, which is basically equivalent to $5,000 in New York. So, you know.
Yeah.
But
it's not a lot.
But then Keenan jumped in, Mike. Keenan heard this. He jumped in after hearing about the hubbub of Pete's comments, because Pete's comments blew up everywhere. And Keenan said, you have to pay your dues. I don't know if Keenan's aware, but jobs are supposed to pay you. You're not supposed to have to pay dues. Also, considering Keenan has been on the show for 21 years, he should be making like $27 million an episode now.
Yeah,
his dues ended a couple of decades ago. Good Lord. Mike, here's a quick headline. This headline is from Telegraph. Quote, Virgin Voyages admits sex kits were a mistake. End quote.
Virgin Voyages.
Virgin Voyages. From the old Virgin Galactic, Mike.
Oh.
Yes.
Same Virgin.
Yeah, that's the same Virgin Records.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mike, I can tell you, I have no idea what sex kits are, but if you're a cruise company and came to me and said, hey, we've decided to hand out sex kits, I'd say, bad idea. Don't even need to know what's in them. I could just say, nope, don't do it. And you know what, Mike? Apparently what they were doing, they made adults-only cruises. And basically they were making like giant swing fest that were getting pretty gross out there.
Ew.
And like, have you ever heard of the upside down pineapple as a symbol?
No.
This is a symbol that you're like, you're ready to get freaky, non-monogamous freaky.
Okay.
Yeah. And apparently that was going all around on these Virgin cruises or Virgin Voyages.
Does that go on your little cabin door or something? You got it upside down?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's hot.
People are just walking in, exchanging partners. It's getting freaky in there, Mike.
You knock on the door. It's just a bunch of dudes.
Oh. But that's what he wanted. Mike, you remember me telling you about the old Kate Upton story? Her weird Instagram post? You remember that one?
I think so.
She had an Instagram post about where she described a situation involving a small child and an intoxicated dad with a gun. And then she was like, is this an emergency? Should I call the police?
Oh, yeah. Yep. I remember that.
Right. Well, she just came out a month later to let her followers know it wasn't about her husband.
Huh?
She's like, guys, by the way, yeah, it wasn't about my husband. And then let everybody know, guess who it was about? Her niece.
Wait, what?
Which, again, after all of this, I got to say, Kate, call the cops. What's your hesitancy to call? Do you have a bunch of crack stashed at your house and you're like, I don't want them coming over here? Like, call the cops. It's your niece. What's wrong with you? She's weird. I don't get it.
Rich people are weird, man. Sometimes
bizarre,
rich
man.
People are weird.
Bizarre. I don't get it. I don't get it.
So weird.
Mike, little headline from Tasting Table. Here we go. Quote, the disappointing platter to avoid ordering at Applebee's. Mike, I'm guessing that would be the platter of food.
Yeah.
Platter of... Actually, it's the riblet platter, Mike.
I don't like riblets.
Vic Rib's ugly cousin, the riblets.
I don't like that word.
I like how they don't even, in the article, they don't even know what the a riblet is. They're like, well, it's like, I could be the end, I guess, of short. I don't know. But Mike, this probably won't surprise you. It's pretty much the only thing I ate when I used to go to Applebee's back in the day.
Oh, really? The riblets?
Oh, the riblets and chicken tender platter, my friend. I went hard. Went hard in the paint on both
How
of
many
those.
years of your life did you
30.
lose to that?
30. I would have lived to 120 without a riblets, Mike. Oh, man. Mike, here we go. This is a pretty good one. I saw a quote from Mark Zuckerberg on social media that said, quote, the biggest risk is not taking any risk. Which I sort of agree with. But I would say, Mark...
To a degree.
Yeah, exactly. I would say, Mark, it depends on what the risks are and who they impact. For instance, compare a person deciding between the risk of missing out on not making a social media company to win over a girl versus the risk that said social media company ruins mankind as we know it. I would say collectively, we would have been better off with the risk of you not taking that one. You weird humanoid.
He's an alien.
He's just, his eyes. It's the eyes, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's the eyes.
Yeah, it was like a really bad human job on the alien's part.
It's bad. They're like, this works, right? This works. Mike.
I don't know. He still kind of looks like an alien.
Yeah. Well, nobody will notice. Mike, I got a headline from the classic Yard Barker, which is a sports page. Quote, Bill Belichick explains how he would run a college football program. Well, knowing Bill Belichick, Mike, and I've seen him for a good number of years, I would say number one priority, fun. Right? Look at that guy. That dude just looks like a good time.
Oh, yeah.
I would say priority number one, he just strikes me as a guy that says, you know what, guys, it doesn't matter if we lost. Important thing, we had fun. Right? That seems like a real Bill Belichick-y thing to do, you know? But have you seen why this is in the news, Mike?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I know he's like trying to coach at a college.
Yes, he's trying to coach at UNC.
Right.
So he's been interviewing it at UNC, and I'm a little concerned. He may just be trying to get the job so they'll accept his girlfriend for college applications.
Yeah, there we go. I was wondering if it was him or the owner who had the really young girlfriend. Him. But yeah, it's Bill Belichick. Yeah, you're right.
She's 24. He's 72.
She's 24.
He's 72.
Oh my gosh.
He is literally triple her age, Mike. Wow. Triple her age.
That is wild.
And I gotta be honest, She's a looker. Good for Bill Belichick on that realm. I have no idea about her personality. She could be a real turd bag, but she's a looker. So, and Bill Belichick, no offense, Bill, you're not.
Not a looker.
So good. Good for you on that way. Yes! Mike, we are going to take a break. We are going to be right back here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show. Spinnaker Radio, WSKRLP 95.5 FM in Jacksonville, Florida. Mike, what do the listeners need to do?
Well, Doc G, if the listeners feel like the show is a positive way to waste their time, they should please subscribe to the show wherever they consume their podcast. Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on SoundCloud. It is a cost-effective way to support the show. And if the listeners are feeling extra generous, they should please leave us a 5-star review. Mm-hmm. We would love them for that.
Amen. We definitely.
And for listening to the show, just subscribing, all that stuff. Yeah.
Reading our cover.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For reading our cover. And maybe the first 2 or 3 pages. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe you got all the way down there. We'd appreciate that.
We would.
I know Mike would.
Oh, I would definitely.
He loves when people open his cover. Huh? Anyways, listeners, we need to thank the regulars. Need to shoot those out there. I'm just getting my list tidy, Mike. Just give me a second. Okay. I am now ready to screw it up. Here we go. Shout out to Katie's, Texas, Tom River, New Jersey, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Asheville, North Carolina, Los Angeles, California, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Athens, Georgia. I had to change. No, Mike, let me just, I'm going to start over here. We're going to get serious. Okay, listeners, we're serious. Here we go. This is 100%. Here we go. Shout out to Katie, Texas, Toms River, New Jersey, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Asheville, North Carolina, Los Angeles, California, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Athens, Georgia, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Chicago, Illinois, Boynton, Virginia, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Columbus, Ohio, Falkenstein, Germany, Jacksonville, Florida, Columbia, South Carolina, Radford, Virginia, Gainesville, Florida, Frankfurt, Germany, Anoka, Minnesota, Ashburn, Virginia, Piracai, Brazil, San Diego, California, Dublin, Ireland, Boardman, Oregon, Genoa, Italy, Richardson, Texas, Barcelona, Spain, Winfield, West Virginia, Biloxi, Mississippi, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Peoria, Illinois.
Great job, Doc G.
Thank you. I only had one noticeable stumble there, Mike. I think it was on San Diego? I think I screwed up on San Diego. I think that was where I screwed up. It was on one of those turns. I came off of a line, and I went down to the next line. I was like, I'm stupid! And then I got it back there for a second. So there we go. But, appreciate it. Appreciate all the listeners, Mike. But you know what?
Yeah, we do.
It's that time. We need to move on. And I'm sorry, 4-star listeners. We don't have time right now. I would love to go over the 4-star listeners, but you're just going to have to try next week. That's what you're going to have to do. Because we need to do it, Mike. It is that time of year. We need to have a year-end review. The best of the Doc G Show. And, Mike, would you agree? It's been a good year.
Oh yeah, it's been a great year.
That's right.
A lot of friggin' all-stars on the show.
There's been some high ups, Mike. Some high ups. And we're going to start. I'm doing a little bit different this year. So this year, what I'm doing, every month, we're going a clip of each month of the show. Now, I'm not saying the best show because I don't want to slight anybody, because there were some jam-packed months in there where we had multiple bangers. And it was really hard to choose which one we were going to go with. But I chose my favorite from the, again, I don't want to say favorite, just one of the best that I liked in there, and I went with it. So first off, Mike, starting off January 2024, we've got January 31st. This is Tom Papa. This is him talking about his section of Air getting clipped. If you recall that. You remember when he talked about that,
Section
Mike?
of Air getting clipped? What?
Yeah, the movie Air. Remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. I remember now.
He's supposed to be
I do remember that.
Let's take a listen here.
Well, on the acting side of things, this past year, me and Mike actually we watched a movie there that I was very excited about, and I heard you were in the movie, but your scene got cut by the director. The movie being Air, and the director being Ben Affleck. Now, is that one of those things that you get specifically told, or does the movie come out and you go, where am I?
No, I was told. Matt Damon told me when he came to my stand-up show. I was like, the movie looks good. He's like, yeah, about that. And we just had one scene together, and it makes sense when you see the movie. Like it was kind of like a left turn for a little bit. But still, I'm waiting for my call because I know if my scene had been in, they probably would have had Golden Globe Awards on their table. And but everyone makes mistakes. It's it's you can't blame them.
What can you do? Come on, Ben Affleck, you're better than that.
Come on, Ben.
There we go. There we go, Mike. Little bit of Tom Papa magic. Yes! I don't think I actually did you know the clip that he's talking about there?
No idea.
So, well, because they completely took his character out. He was supposed to be another general manager. He was supposed to be a general manager of the Portland Trailblazers. And so they were supposed to, like, basically talk to him. And the scene that they had was, like, him realizing he had screwed up because he didn't draft Jordan. And so he's supposed to be all dejected and sad because they didn't get Jordan. But then that was like what they realized was like, well, but at that time they didn't know what they had with Jordan. So like it wouldn't really make sense for them being dejected and sad. That makes sense. So, right. Yeah, but that was what they cut from it. But good times, man. Tom on the show. Can't thank Tom enough for coming on the show.
Amazing.
Super nice guy.
Legendary.
Just came on, chatted with us for a good while. Really enjoyed it, Mike. So the next one we got, another huge classic. This would be from our February 21st show. This was Sully Erna here from Godsmack. And this is him talking about creating voodoo from a drum beat, just from the drum beat that he had here.
You've been a drummer since you were 4. You drummed nonstop your whole childhood. All your first bands, you were the drummer. And to me, that's one of the things that stuck out immediately when I first started listening to Godsmack is so rhythmic. It's so fundamentally based in drums. I can just songs have a wave feel to them that you can sort of ride that wave that you can't in other bands. And the documentary, you talked about the creation of Whatever, and it seems like you sort of evolved from a drum beat that you came up with. And I was wondering how important is the drum beat to you when you're writing? Like, is that something that starts out a lot of songs, or does it just come, as part of the song creation?
For me, it's everything. It's the guitar, it's the vocals, it's the bass patterns, it's the drums itself. Everything I do is rhythmic because I was raised as a drummer. So even my guitar riffs and those patterns are more percussive than they are technical. My stuff isn't like Eddie Van Halen and Steve Vai and some of these great guitar players. It's more rhythmic because it's the drummer in me just kind of tapping and paddling and moving notes as I do it. And that's really what inspires a lot of the songs to become songs. But there's been songs in the past that have been written a cappella, like Voodoo. I came in one day, I was on my way to rehearsal, and within like 5 or 10 minutes driving there, this melody came in my head, and it was real like chanty and tribal. And I started singing it and I put it together. And by the time I got to rehearsal, I pretty much had the whole thing mapped out. And then I just said, this is the key I want to sing it in. And so I just started singing it. And then the guys started putting the music to it.
Man.
So Yeah, it's always drums, always rhythm.
There you go, Mike. Always drums.
Yeah,
Always
I love
rhythm.
it, man. I love
Always
it. The muse hit him right there.
Fun fact about that, Mike. Well, one, I just pulled up that clip. I literally hit that right at the right second.
Oh, that's awesome.
Did not have that time written down, Mike. I literally just clicked that one point. That was wild.
You work on these shows, Doc G.
That's true. I do have a little bit of an idea of where it is. Yeah. But the other thing, Mike, fun fact, that is the most liked clip that we have on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
That little segment there. I think it's getting close to 1,000 likes.
Yeah, it's a good clip, man. Anytime artists talk about how they create
their creations,
what they're doing,
yes, yeah,
people love that.
I can't wait until people learn about this cover of a show, Mike. They want to know, hey, tell me about how you created this, and I'll be like, all right, I'll tell you, I'll put it in. Now, Mike,
hours of work,
minutes of work, you guys. Mike, the next one is a little sad. So we had in March, we had the Four Tops on the show. We had Lawrence Roquel Payton Jr. on the show.
Mm-hmm.
His dad was one of the founding members of the Four Tops, and just recently, Duke, who was one of their founding members, the only original founding member, he passed away. Passed away about 2 months ago. Very sad. But I do have a clip from when he was on the show about. I do have a clip from the show of Lawrence talking about how integral Duke is to their band and just what he meant to the band.
Let's start where I think obviously it needs to start when we're talking about the Four Tops. Let's talk about Duke. Duke is the remaining original member. He has been a Four Top for 70 years. I mean,
listen, for 70 years. And let me tell you something. This guy only missed one show in 70 years.
That is some attendance record right there.
Oh man, and he never complains. He's an ultimate professional. Nothing worries him. I mean, how can I say it? He's the captain of the ship. He's a perfect leader. You know, all you have to do is look. He keeps you grounded. And when you look to him, he's like I say, he's always composed. So you know you got somebody in your corner.
How do you think, where does he get the motivation? How do you think he keeps, what does motivate him about the Four Tops? Why has he been doing it for 70 years?
Well, you know, he was destined to do this. And if you read his book, he has a book. I don't know if you know that. He has a book. And if you read that book, it tells you some very interesting things that happened to him. Like one time he was singing in the choir. He got really nervous, thought he did in church, thought he did bad. Ran out, young, 8 years old, ran out of the church crying, and the lady's coming down the street, old lady, coming down the street seeing him. And she says, "Why are you crying, young man?" And he explained, and she said, "Oh no." She said, "There's a bunch of angels around you, and one day your name is going to be known all over the world." So you have to read this book. And then he had a dream that he was performing at the Apollo, and it was him and 3 other guys, and they had on silver suits. This was years before he even thought about being in a group, right?
Yeah.
And when the Four Tops got together, of course, they got together in 1954, but when they got together, they had gotten this new manager, Arthur Braggs, and Arthur said, "Look, man, we're getting ready to do the Apollo, and I'm going to go get you guys some new uniforms." So Arthur Braggs goes out and gets 3 uniforms, 3 sets of 4, and one of them was silver. He didn't realize it then, but when they put him on to go perform, then, and he looked in the mirror and seen other guys with him, he was like, "This is my dream." So it's like a destined thing to him. You know what I mean? And he always puts God first in anything he does. So I think that's what gave him 70 years in this business.
He knows he's supposed to be there.
Listen, can I tell you another story?
Of course.
Oh, listen, this is really profound. So years after, they got together in 54, they signed they had sung behind everybody between 54 and 64 before signing with Motown. They had been with a couple of record companies and everything. They had been doing really, really well. And they had worked from 1954 to 64. Then when they signed with Motown, of course, they had all the success. So you fast forward to the 80s. He gets a vision. And his vision is somebody's talking to him, the spiritual, from the spiritual realm. And this vision tells him, look, I've done everything I told you I was going to do. I've blessed you. I've given you success. You and your guys, I've given you great success. You're known all the way or all around the world. Now it's time for you to pay homage to me. He's talking to God, right? So he, and at that time, so he went to the other fellas and said, look, I had this dream. He said, and this dream says, look, God has been really good to us, and it's time for us to, give him some back, in whatever way we can do that, Shortly after that, he had a triple bypass surgery, came through it with fine colors, had the vision again, and went and told the other guys the same thing. Of course, they were all God-fearing. They were really all God-fearing, including my father. But they weren't attending church a lot or anything, but he kept harping on it. And then you fast forward to now, he's still with us, 70 years doing that. So, you know what I mean? So I think it was ordained.
The Four Tops. There it is, Mike.
Wow.
There it is. Duke,
History.
70 years, man. He did it for over 70 years. That is dedication.
Yeah, how about that lady, the Nostradamus lady? You're going to be a big person in your life there, young man.
I mean, calling it out. She probably did that. Let's be honest. She probably said that to every single kid that she sees struggling. No, you'll be famous. You'll be famous. And then another kid came up and was like, she said that to me yesterday. What the hell? Then it turned out all of them were famous.
Oh, there we go.
It was all
every single.
It was the Temptations. It was the Four Tops. It was Smokey Robinson. Every single person from all of the Motown records was there.
The common denominator, that lady.
That was it, man. Yeah. But rest in peace to Duke, man. Just a fantastic and super great that they could come on the show. It's an honor to have a band that big on the show. Just that
also,
much
real
history.
quick, man, the fact that he only missed one show.
Yeah.
What?
70 years.
Gosh,
70 years. Talk about an attendance record there, Mike.
That's an attendance record.
Going on to another show, Mike. This is the April show, April 3rd. We had so much fun with this one. This was Need to Breathe. This was Josh Loveless here talking about how he was in a cover band. And at first he was talking about how he didn't want to be in a Black Sabbath cover band. But someone interjects and says, what cover band were you really in? And we find out what cover band Josh was really in.
Fun for us. And I have to say this really quick, too, thinking back to my influences. Somebody once asked me to be in a Black Crowes cover band, and I turned it down because I thought they were Black Sabbath. And I was like, I don't have anything to add to this. I'm a keyboard player. And it's the biggest regret of my life. I should have done it because it would have been so fun to be in a Black Crowes cover band.
You could have been rocking those keys. Oh,
I know.
Man.
It was a big mistake.
Some hard to handle.
And it's like it would have been the perfect band to be in, and I missed it. I just thought
I don't know.
Much.
I think Need to Breathe worked out pretty well.
It's okay. It's okay, but that high school Black Crowes cover band really would have,
that would have set things off.
Really would have made the difference.
And which cover band did you decide to do instead?
Next question, please.
I
was actually in an NSYNC cover band in high school. I was, and we did it up, and that made all the difference. I would say, let me tell you how many girlfriends I had in high school. Okay,
a ton. All because of the NSYNC,
mostly the
cover band.
Yes, mostly yes. Yeah.
Nice, Mike. Yes, NSYNC cover band.
Yeah.
I'm guessing since I don't know you to have a lot of musical talent.
I would have killed it, Doc G. I would have killed it.
You didn't have any cover bands, right? There were never any. You were never singing in anything or rapping or playing tunes, right?
No, I've never done anything.
Okay.
Never. I did do one time. I did a karaoke at the Rising Star at Universal Studios City Walk, and that was a production. I mean, you get the band, the whole thing.
What did you go with? What was the song?
It was Montel Jordan.
This is how we do it?
Yeah, this is how we do it.
Oh, man. Mike's taking it back to his first musical experience.
It was a Wednesday, so we changed all the Friday stuff to Wednesday.
There we go. I like it.
Wednesday
this
night.
is how we do it. It's Wednesday night, and I'm feeling right. Nice, Mike. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we got another one. This is May 15th. This is Pepper here. This is Kaleo, who was fantastic, talking about the authenticity of their band. I was wondering, after you've released as much music as you guys have, do you still get, like, when you release a new album, do you still get, like, nervous? Like, are people gonna like this? Is this gonna be different for them?
You know, the funny thing is, as long as we've been recording and releasing music, even the demos back in Kona in the first days, we never had that feeling. I can honestly say the three of us have never had I hope people like this.
Wow.
It's more like, do we like it? And if we like it, let's put it out.
Yeah.
And that's always been the case, you know? I think that's like, you know, kind of another reason why Pepper is pretty punk rock in its own way. It's like, you know, we're going to write about things that, you know, aren't necessarily dinner table friendly. We're going to like write about like true experiences.
Yeah.
And also too, just like be very, very honest of like, hey, yeah, this is happening. I mean, you know, the first time we ever got spun on K-Rock was, why don't you have some dirty hot sex with me? And it's just like, that's just an honest question. that's just, you know what I mean? Like that's just really it. Like, and especially in that time frame. So what we were really doing is like, do we like it? Are we authentic? Is it good? That, honestly, to tell you the truth, is why we're so not afraid to release music. And on the other sense too, though, we really like to hold ourselves accountable to make sure that we do like it.
Yeah.
So if a track doesn't feel like we're into it, no one else is going to get into it either.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was actually just talking about this with my co-host. I like, because I think that's one of the reasons why I would make a bad musician, because I would not be able to hold myself to that true artist form. I'd be like, well, it sounds pretty good, but are people gonna like it? Oh no, I'm gonna have to get them to listen to it. We're gonna have to like, and then, you know, if I had a song that people liked, I would just try to make that song over and over again. I'd be like, okay, well, that worked. Let's do it one more time. Let's try it. Like, it's just, I mean, it definitely works that way. You have to be your own artist, but I would find it so difficult, so hard to do.
Whether you're an artist or not, if you're going to be authentic in the world, you're going to have to put yourself out that way. So it doesn't matter if I'm just talking to you at a conversation at a dinner, or I'm actually putting out this music.
That's true.
It's the same thing. Like, if you're just like a yes person, you're just trying to agree with the conversation. If you're just trying to agree with the crowd, and you don't want to, like, you know, have anyone, you know, think of you in any other way except pleasant, well, yeah, it's going to be pretty difficult. But honestly, it's really not that authentic. And so what's kind of the point of that, you know?
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. We all know those people. We all know those people that you're like, well, they were nice. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. Mike, you like how he was talking about yes men right there, and then I just agreed with him the whole time. He was like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's true, Mike. You got to do your own thing, man. You can't get sucked up. You can't get sucked up in the likes. You can't get sucked up in the. Man. It is. I mean, especially I always think of comedians. I'm like, that's your whole job. You're supposed to hear people laugh. And the more you hear them laugh, the better you're doing. How are you not supposed to be like, well, that got a great laugh. I'm going to do it again. I'm doing it again. Just tough. Just tough. Well, speaking of that, Mike, we got next on here, we got Joe Bonamassa. This is him talking about trolls. So this is him not listening to the old internet trolls here.
One thing on your gear I've noticed, I mean, you like you mentioned, you show a lot of your gear on social media, and you and Norm actually you did a post together just a couple of days ago, and it went a little bit off the rails in the comment section, and you actually posted a response to these comments, and I was amazed that you actually read the comments. How can you stand reading those comments? I mean, most of them are positive. Most of them are all positive, but when you get to those negative ones, doesn't it make you just want to go, forget this? I'm not reading any of these.
The level of ignorance is shocking to this day. That there's this notion that I own every guitar in the world, and I'm keeping them away. Some diabolical plot. I'm keeping them away from deserving players that could take them out. It's like, first of all, it's specious reasoning to think that way. It is a very. I own 650 guitars. Okay, maybe a few more. I don't know. I mean, they're in 5 locations. I have an inventory, and it's approximately 650 guitars. You know how many guitars are built a year? Lots. Okay. Yeah. Thousands, tens of thousands. You know how many guitars they built between the years 1960 and 1965? Pretty much, after the Beatles came out, tens of thousands. There's no way that this even becomes relevant. And the notion that guitar collecting that I'm doing and amp collecting that I do is somehow hurting people is just the most dumb argument you can say. It's fair to say, do you really need all this stuff? Absolutely not. Okay, that's a fair argument. Okay, but I always use the reference that not a lot of people knew that Rory Gallagher had a huge guitar collection. He was known to play that one beat up Strat. Okay, and that was that's all Rory Gallagher needed was that one guitar. And he had hundreds of guitars. He was a guitar collector, just like me.
Yeah.
And a lot of other people. And this notion that for some reason that I'm some Sith Lord of evil guitar collectors is just nutty. And I posed a response that was such a take on it. And what I was surprised to see is how many people thought I was actually serious.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I'm like, I can't help those who don't want to help themselves. I can't help those who can't critically think past, in a chess match, you can only, you're only moving one
piece at a time.
One piece at a time. I can't help those that for some reason get so spun up and jealous that they have to come out with these crazy opinions. And I don't care anymore. I don't care. I don't care what people think of what I do. I've been long established, and I have the luxury now. I can do this for as long as I want and can quit anytime I want. I've earned that right after 36 years and of doing this professionally, and that's it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. If you like what I do, great. If you don't like what I do, great. It doesn't affect anything. You're not your opinion. And I told this to the last guy I talked to. The people that get on the Instagram or the social media and they try to engage you with these kind of things, it's like they're forgetting one thing: is we're not peers. You're not my peer, okay? Because you're on the other side of the fence, chiming in on people who are out there putting themselves out there. Now, if you put yourself out there for people like me to judge harshly, you may not like what we say, but they'll hide under the anonymity of Les Paul Lover 59 and say what they want. But use your own name. Let me run a Google search on you. Let me criticize what you do for a living. But if you get into that, it's really not worth it. No. And you become one of them. Yeah. And it's not worth it. It's not a positive way to live your life. I don't care what anybody thinks anymore. I don't care. It's the closer I get to 50, the less I care. And right now I'm 3 years away from 50, and I have this much care left about anything.
I feel like you could make that a shirt. The closer I get to 50, the less I care.
I care. And because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I do. There's always going to be someone who says something negative about it, and that's okay.
Yeah. Totally I will say what amazes me too is the people that have legitimate gear questions and are interested in it, you respond with actual responses about the gear because you love it. It's amazing to me because like I said, I would have just stopped responding.
No, and that's to me the purest form of like social media is you get to meet people from all over the world. And that's great. Other collectors, other enthusiasts, or people just interested in it, thinking of dabbling in it. And, it's an expensive hobby, but it's not something that you will, it's to be enjoyed. Music is to be enjoyed. This gear stuff is to be enjoyed. It's not something that is, it's not life or death. The sun will rise again tomorrow.
There you go, Mike. At the end of the day. But you know what? Not the Doc G show. Only positives.
No way.
That's all we get. Just positives from here until the end of time. So that's pretty
absolutely.
Good. It's pretty good. But you know what? He has a good outlook on it, Mike. And I'm amazed. Like I said in the clip, he actually engaged with a lot of those people. And I'm just like, no way. If I were him, I would like literally give it to some assistant and be like, you look at these things. I'm not looking at any of that.
Post
anymore.
It and ghost it.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even post it. I'd just give it to them and be like, you edit this thing. Like, because he controls it all. He looks at all of it. No way.
Yeah, I do. I respond to it. But that's because I get no comments on anything. So when I do,
you're like, well, it's negative, but I got to respond.
Some of them aren't even negative. They're just
weird.
They just post their story and it's just weird.
Yeah. Weird. Yeah. I've gotten some of those before. Yeah. Mike, we're going to move on to our July clip. This is from Rob McNelley. Talk about guitars. This is him playing the solo for Bob Seger's farewell tour. Him talking about getting to do that. Pretty good stuff. You got to tell me what it's like when you're on stage with Bob Seger and you get to rip into that guitar solo on Like a Rock. Because that's, that's just iconic. That slide guitar, getting to do that. Like, what does that feel like?
Oh, man. I mean, it's an honor every time that happened. And I mean, I used to feel at the beginning, well, that's how I got the gig. Ultimately, he hadn't played that song in a lot of years because he didn't really have guitar players that were adept at slide in the band for a while, so that, and plus he felt like, gosh, the whole time it was running as a Chevy ad, he was like, people are inundated with this song. I've got a lot of other songs I can play. I don't have to beat them over the head with that when they come to my concert, which I think is silly because it's just an awesome song. But, But yeah, so I mean, it was always a special moment to drop into that solo on stage because it's Bob Seger. I grew up, hearing that music all the time and being a fan. Some of my favorite songs of all time, he's on that list, So, and that's one of them. And so it's this fantasy moment that you would think about when you were a kid, but then you're doing it, and it's a solo every one of his fans knows you've got to play it right. So there was pressure, but ultimately it was just like I every night it was like this is probably the coolest thing that I will ever do, that people will know that I did. You know?
There you go, Mike. There you go. Getting to
Like
play with
a
one of
rock.
I was strong as I could be here.
Love that commercial, man. I love those.
Don't say
good song.
It's a song. If you don't, I brought this up before many a times on the show, Mike, but Bob Seger's whole catalog could be called, "You remember when I used to be young and awesome?" That could be like every single one of his songs. Against the Wind, Like a Rock, Night Moves. Like all of them are just like, man, back when I was a young stallion. You remember that? That was dope. But I mean, I think the best one is Like a Rock, because he is really wistful in that one about being a young buck. That is, but just being up there on stage and laying into that solo. Wow. Just good stuff, man.
Wow, that he wasn't able to play that song because he didn't have a person to play that instrument.
You got to feel confident, you know?
Yeah,
I'm sure there were people that could play it. He just wanted them to play it perfect, you know? He wanted it like the album.
Yeah,
you know?
Sure. And the fans, they'll know.
I'm sure there were. He just he wasn't really looking for them at the time. And then Rob came in and he's like, "Oh, this guy's nailing it. All right, I'll pull it back out," you know?
Yeah.
But speaking of old classics, Mike, next one, Arnez J. My gosh, what a comedian. Arnez came on, and I asked him, because this was interesting, I asked him about his influences as far as comedy. And he brought up an old school favorite. He brought up Carol Burnett and how much of a Carol Burnett fan he is. Let's take a listen. Now, I heard you talk about your inspirations, and you know, you got creative with your inspirations as far as like, I don't think some people would necessarily put, like, I feel like people that don't know comedy history, because I've seen a bunch of interviews with you before, and you've said Carol Burnett. That's usually one of the first people out of your mind.
That's the number one.
Now, like, people that are confused, that don't like, that they might not see it. I see it in your act. I can definitely see the influence of Carol Burnett. But like, tell us in your opinion, what made Carol Burnett so great?
What made Carol Burnett great to me is number one, her kindness in her comedy. She never did any comedy that wanted to belittle anyone. It was always about making you laugh, even going over the edge a little bit. Her physical, people don't think Carol Burnett was physical. She was very physical.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Very physical. So I would say the number one thing on the Carol Burnett show, if you ever get a chance to watch it, is Tim Conway and oh Lord, who's his partner? Tim Conway, Harvey Korman.
Yeah, yep.
When they did the dentist scene, when Harvey Korman and Tim Conway did the dentist scene, and Tim Conway was getting stuck with all the Novocaine needles. Oh my God, Jesus! I like watching shows that not only use the mind but use the body. So my number one would have been Carol Burnett. I love Flip Wilson, the Flip Wilson show, because I'm into characters. I even love Jim Carrey. And then later on, but I think everybody was hooked on it, was, of course, my boy, Dave Chappelle, who I know very well, and his show. and I know him, and his show would make me laugh. You see what I'm saying?
That's
a lot
impressive.
Of people that you know,
yeah.
That no personally, they ain't gonna make you laugh like that.
You know all their tricks. You know, like
what they do.
Yeah.
You know what they do, but his show was off the swizzle to me. I mean, so
I say he made him laugh with the help, and don't get me wrong, the help of Neil Brennan, Mike.
For sure.
Because it's not just Dave there.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing. Like, to me, I listen to both of their stand-up, and that sketch show doesn't come out of both of their stand-ups. Like, I don't, I see like the Dave part, but then, like, I don't see the Neil part in his stand-up, but it definitely shined through on the sketch show, man.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, definitely.
Such a great show, man.
Yeah.
Such a great show. And the Carol Burnett show, man, still classics. Classics, man. Thanks to Arnez for coming on the show. Super nice guy, man. Very, very enjoyable to talk to. Hope he's got some good fishing in this year. You know, just a big old fisher. Mike, might be your favorite coming up next. Might be your favorite of the year. Can you guess it?
Bush.
That's right, Gavin Rossdale, Mike.
Gavin Rossdale.
We've got Gavin Rossdale, and what did I choose? Me surprising him with egg facts. My favorite part of the interview, where you should have seen, listeners, I have it on one clip. You can go back and watch it. You should see his look of surprise when I bust him with the egg facts. He's like, whoa. What is this guy dropping with me right now? This knowledge that I'm getting. You know, it's pretty exciting.
It's fun
but
to
here
watch.
we go. Here we go. Egg facts. What do you do on tour? How do you get it? Like, what's the food scene on tour? What do you try to do as far as food?
I travel with eggs that I either boil and put in soy sauce and rice wine vinegar, and then like dip into a vat of 5 eggs and just like have that really good protein burst. Or I have those fancy jars. I want to say fancy because they're fancy jars of tuna, and I just put rice wine vinegar with them and maybe chop up something in there like any vegetable I have just to get something fresh in there, cucumber or something, and then or beans, travel with beans, and then you get these like instant hits. Then I don't have to rely on like, if catering is a little below par and a little congealed, then sometimes you don't really want to eat it. This is like food or avocados, those kind of just eggs and avocados. You don't need much else. You're fine.
But it sounds like pretty rigorous though, as far as sort of like the health line. You don't dip into the bad foods that often on tour.
I eat super clean, but I've got like a hella sweet tooth, so I'm really good at the cookies if they've done. I'm good at all that stuff. So I have to, gotta balance it out. I mean, nobody wants. I'm not a preacher,
Well, now, I mean, I guess obviously, do you miss cooking when you're out on tour as much as you cook? Do you miss like getting in a kitchen?
In a certain way, but I'm so busy out here. We've been doing this thing daytime for the VIP. We do these packages and I've been singing songs like that, and so it's basically been like doing a matinee every day. So the whole days. So I'm just in a constant state of shock that I can still sing. Everything is cool, and it's really like keeping on that and basically shutting up in between singing, keeping as quiet as I can, and it just takes a lot. So no, I haven't thought about that too much. But I miss having a knife, and it's nice to chop things up a little bit. But
therapeutic,
but it's all good. Eggs win all the time.
It's funny. I literally, and this is not a lie, was just having that conversation this morning. Somebody was asking me about breakfast foods, and I was like, eggs are as good as you can get. Best source of protein. They've got all kinds of nutrients that other sources don't have. Fortotropin, phosphatidic acid, all of these great things. They're amazing. They are a superfood. I'm right there with you.
Advice. Oh, I need some advice from you. I didn't even know you had that in your back pocket. God dang.
It's they are impressive. I mean, it's my go-to source of protein.
what do you think about the tuna and the beans? You know, black beans, white beans, pinto beans, whatever.
Well,
not pinto, black. Are they good? Is that
Oh,
good?
100%. You know, when you look at beans, extremely fiber, right? High in fiber, of course, a good amount of protein. They are a complementary protein instead of a complete protein like eggs, but they also have a lot of other good things. Interesting thing with white beans, they actually have a molecule in them that is a inhibitor of carbohydrate breakdown. So you actually absorb less other carbohydrates when you eat beans with those carbohydrates. So if you were to have like a plate of beans and like pasta, for instance, you'd get less of that pasta in as far as the absorption of glucose, which would be solid for people that are trying to restrict carbs, of course.
I feel like you're setting us free. You know, pasta fagioli. You know,
yeah.
The beans. I'm ready for that.
Blue is mine, Mike.
Yeah, Doc G, dropping the facts.
Blue is knowledge. Go back. I said there was a compound in white beans, like some kind of amateur.
Blam.
I was just excited because I was talking to Gavin Rossdale. I couldn't think of the name of it. It's an amylase inhibitor. What the
Gosh, Doc G, where were you?
God, I heard myself say it. I could hear it in the interview. I was like, thank you, moron. It's an amylase inhibitor. Come on. Jesus. But I was just too stunned by Gavin Rossdale's good looks. I couldn't think of amylase inhibitor.
Man, he hit you with that smile. Even in the Zoom call, we're just like, oh, what a nice
Well,
smile.
you know, especially when I give him a whimsical egg fact and he gets all riled up and I'm like, I just riled up Gavin Rossdale. Oh my God. Like, you know, it's exciting. My goodness. Anyways, now that we've done that, Mike, let's go here to our October clip. This is from Felipe Esparza. This is Felipe. This is a great. I asked him about his Mount Rushmore of comedians, but then he tells me, no, I don't have a Mount Rushmore of comedians, and then he just tells me all the comedians that he likes currently, and I'm just like, all right, that's sort of what you just did, but okay, whatever, it works. Super nice guy. Let's take a listen. Do you have like a Mount Rushmore of comedians?
Nah, I think that's stupid. Because even the Mount Rushmore we have now is ridiculous. I mean, you can put a competition like presidents. You can put a Rushmore of presidents, American soldiers, but comedians, actors, sports figures. It's all about on taste. You can't keep a batting average on stand-up comedy. I would say now living right now, living comedians, not dead, living comedians. I would put Todd Berry up there, Dave Attell.
Wow.
I would put Nate Bogart. I don't know how to say his last name.
Bargatze, yeah.
Yes, I'll put him up there. I'll put Corey Holcomb.
Nice.
Corey Holcomb and Hannibal Buress from only because these four comedians to me are the most they're famous, but when you sit down with comics and people really talk about funny comedians, those are the ones that my friends mention all the time.
They're the ones that they put. Yeah, they're the comedian's comedian.
Yeah, and then Louis C.K. too, because a lot of people are very Louis C.K.-esque.
Oh yeah, man, I love Louis.
And then Brian Holtzman too, from the Mothership. Brian Holtzman.
Yeah.
Well, he knows how to walk the crowd.
There you go, Mike. There you go.
You say people that walk the crowd?
People that walk the crowd, man. Walk the crowd. I didn't see Todd Berry coming on that. I mean, no offense. I like Todd Berry a good amount, but I didn't. Although I did know that about Felipe. Felipe loves deadpan comedy, and he actually tried to be sort of that deadpan comedian for like the first 6 years of his career, and then finally realized oh, that's not me. I love it, but I can't do that style. That's not what I do.
Yeah.
So that's probably why he has him up there so high on the list. But man, I love Hannibal Buress too.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Such a good comedian.
Corey Holcomb too, underrated. Not really a very well-known guy, but man, Corey Holcomb live show. I recommend people check him out. He is a killer.
I feel like all of those. It's like he said though. Like all of those are the comedian's comedian. You know, they're the ones that the comedians respect, and they might not get the biggest crowds, but you know, they might not be the pop star, but they're killing it.
Yeah.
They're killing it.
But you go out to a show, you watch those guys, and you're gonna walk away like, wow, that was a great show.
And Mike, props to me on that interview. I had COVID during that interview, and it didn't sound like it. So props to me. I was slowly dying inside there. So there you go, listeners.
So true.
Mike, last one. The last one for the clip show, November show. We have got one of our favorites here on the podcast, Mike. Niko Moon.
Niko,
just a fantastic guy. This is Niko talking about what he needs, what he needs to feel good, and then me sort of chiming in with a thing that you're well aware that I talk a lot about, Mike, which would be forced fun. And how I'm not a fan of forced fun. And you know who agrees with me? Niko. Here we go.
And so for me, I find my peace close to those elemental things in life. Fire and water, it's the simple things, but for me, it's where I just am my happiest, because I think it's where I'm just getting back to like raw, just human experience. You're typically around, you're doing it with people that you care about, and just kind of like talking and very simple sorts of things that we're doing. We're just having conversation, and those to me, as every year goes by, seems to be the most important sorts of activities, or the most meaningful activities, compared to like some activity with all this stuff and all of this bourgeois put around it.
I thought about, I had my friend had his bachelor party the other weekend, and it wasn't the crazy bachelor party. It was just a couple of dudes, and that was a thing at a lake, and we were just hanging by a fire pit, and I was like, is this the perfect Niko Moon situation? I think this is. I've got a fire pit, I've got a lake down there. My God. It's the fire and the water, man, and you just get some people hanging out and some good food and some good conversation and some good music going on in the background. That's all you need. It puts everybody in a good mood, and you're making memories, man. And I mean, that's what life. I like to think of myself as a collector of memories, and I'm trying to get as many good memories in this life and get as big of a collection of good memories as I can, And to me, like, that's the thing, is I always tell people I'm not into forced fun. So like, like when a person has this elaborate plan that they say, oh, you should do this, you should do this, we're going to do this, we've got plans to do this. I'm like, you're taking all the fun out of it.
Exactly.
But if you just do something like, hey, I'm going to have this fire pit and everybody's going to show up at this time. That's
just have some barbecue or some fish or something, and like a picnic and some water and some fire. It's all you need.
There we go, Mike. Just have a fire pit, have some water, have some fish, have some barbecue, man. That's what good. Niko says. I agree. And you know what? I'm a collector of memories. I just showed you 11 memories from this year's show.
Great memories.
Fantastic, Mike. You believe? A year, man. It's crazy. Look back on that. It feels like yesterday me and you were interviewing Tom Papa, and that was a year ago now.
Yeah.
It's bananas, man. And then from a year from then, you're going to have a year-old kid beside you.
Oh, my gosh.
What? It's going to be insane, right, Mike? God, I can't handle it. But Mike, we have got to move on. We ran out of time, so we're going to put a pin in it. Listeners, I know this is the fastest growing segment in the world, so I know you're upset we're not going to do it, but we're not going to do it this week because we don't have time.
But next week, we are going to pick up our topic that Mike picked for us this week, which would be top 3 fast food breakfast items. Now, Mike, I thought real quick, I'll give you a little teaser for next week. I didn't think I was going to actually have any that I had. I ended up having 3 that I had, and I believe they actually are the best ones that are out there. Because I looked at a bunch, from other places and like all the things that are out there, and I put some that are honorable mentions that are pretty amazing. But the 3 that I actually had, I was like, no, I'm going to have to go with those. And they're good. I think I got a strong 3, Mike.
All right.
I got a real strong 3. So next week, listeners, top 3 breakfast items. But Mike, before we go for today, of course, we got to do the last 2 birthday suits. See if we can go 0-fer, or if we can go for 2-fer, or if we can get 1.
A 1.
I don't know. We might get a 1-fer, Mike. I'm guessing 0-fer. I hate to be a negative Nancy, but I'm thinking an 0-fer. Here we go. First one, born on December 11, 1973 in Brooklyn, New York. Our birthday suit wearer developed a love for acting in the middle school. Wasn't until 1994 that our birthday suit wearer started trying music professionally. He joined a rap group, UTD, and they eventually released an album. He released an album with Talib Kweli, with the duo being called Black Star. Then in 1999, he released his first solo album called Black on Both Sides with his single Miss Fat Booty. Then in 2004, he released his second album, The New Danger. And then he released his final solo album in 2005 titled True Magic. Since then, he's released several singles with other artists, but he's never released another album. 2011, he announced he would no longer be using or going by his stage name, but I will accept his stage name for the birthday suit, Mike. In 2022, he released another album with Talib Kweli called No Fear of Time. In the same year, 2022, he had a podcast that started with him, Talib Kweli, and Dave Chappelle. Over his career as an actor, he's appeared in several movies like Brown Sugar, The Italian Job, Cadillac Records. Name that birthday suit wearer.
Kind of guessing here, but is it Mos Def?
1! A 1-fer! Yeah! Yes. Oh, nicely done, Mike. I didn't think you'd get Mos Def. There we go. There we go.
Mos Def. Talib Kweli. I am a fan.
Now known as Yasin Bey. That's what he's been known for the last 12 years. You know that one too, Mike?
No, I didn't know that one.
Oh, okay. Yep. That's his name. So if we I'm sorry, Mos Def. I just remember Mos Def so easily. But you know what? I'm trying to try to commit Yasin Bey to my brain there. So next time I'm like, but Mike, that Black Star album, got it on vinyl.
Oh yeah.
It's one of my favorite hip-hop albums to throw on vinyl, I love throwing that one on there. It's got so many good samples on there. Oh, God, it's a good one. That's definitely a solid one, man.
Add that one to the mix right now.
Yeah, do it. The first Black Star album, the one that came out in 99. Solid. Very solid. But, Mike, we need to move on. You are now 1-for-2. I will be flabbergasted if you get the second one.
All right.
I will be amazed. But here we go. Born on December 11th, 1943 in Aurora, Colorado. Our birthday suit wearer grew up in Massachusetts and Washington, D.C. He attended Yale for undergrad and ended up serving in Vietnam. He earned 3 Purple Hearts, a Silver Star, and a Bronze Star for his duty in Vietnam. In 1972, he became a member of the House of Representatives. In 1984, he became a senator for Massachusetts. In 2004, he ran for president, closely losing the election to George Bush. In 2013, he was nominated to be Secretary of State. And in 2021, he became the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate. Name that birthday suit wearer.
Al Gore?
No. 2004, not 2000. So Al Gore ran against Al Gore ran against George Bush
and he
in
had
2000.
the climate movie too, right?
He did. There were several things, but Al Gore definitely did not win that many accolades in Vietnam.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on this one.
I'm gonna give you initials. It might help. We'll just see.
All right.
J.K. I know you've heard the name.
Oh, John Kerry.
1.5. Nicely done, Mike. There we go. All right. I wasn't fully flabbergasted because I did have to give initials, but I was half flabbergasted, Mike. Nicely done. Mike, we all know you don't usually get the political one, so
No, I don't. Yeah.
nicely done. John Kerry, man. Seems like a real nice guy. I like John
Yeah,
Kerry.
he does. He has a nice look.
He has a very nice look. He seems real straight edge.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him behind closed doors. Does he loosen up a little bit? Does he
close pub doors?
Exactly. Does he get a little jokey,
Get loose.
Yeah, exactly. What does he look like in his Volkswagen Jetta in the Publix parking lot?
Yeah, what's he do with that Publix chicken?
Is he tearing into it? I want to know, But regardless, Mike, that is it. We John Kerry, Mos Def, and I mean, wow, Mike, I was surprised. Nikki Sixx was the only one that you didn't get. When I wrote those up, I was like, I don't know if Mike's going to get any one of these three. But here I was, just judging a book by its cover, being completely wrong about Mike, and you nailed almost all of them. My goodness. Mike, we need to wrap it up for this week. I have been your host. But guess what, listeners? I made this decision. I told Mike this a little while ago. I think we're just going to keep doing shows all the way through Christmas.
No breaks.
No breaks here, listeners. We just keep them going, man. We've got some great artists coming up. I've got like 5 interviews lined up, listeners. Some great artists. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a holly jolly holiday, so get ready for it. But until then, Mike, we need to wrap it up until next week. I've been your host, Doc G. With me, as always, the one, the only, Mikey Maximus Vernicus Charette.
Always a pleasure, Doc G. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And until next week, zip it up and zip it out.
Zippity-doo-dah.